Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and United versus Roma kicks off in just over an hour. The team news is out in Rome, and as expected, he has gone quite strong. I'm a bit surprised that he's only gone with Fred out of the three holding players, especially in a game that we're already 4 up in. A game that we're already 4 up in, and not really needing to push forward to score. I would have thought he'd have gone with McTominay and Fred, or Matic and Fred, but it looks very much to me as though it's going to be Van der Beek and Fred. I think Pogba will still play wide on the left. So the lineup that he's gone with, and I've tried to put it in the order that I think, is De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka obviously at right back, Luke Shaw at left back. That's interesting. I've often said the drop down between Shaw and Telles is massive, and there's a couple of games that Telles has played. I'm not saying it's his fault. Some people get on my case when I say it's his fault. It's not his fault, but it's just that the difference is massive, and it's not just in that particular area of the field. It affects the players that are around you, and that affects the players that are around them. You work in triangles. So if Shaw's not playing, maybe Maguire doesn't play quite as well. If Pogba, like at Leicester, was just in front, then Pogba doesn't play quite as well. And then the player next to him might not play quite as well. And it's a knock-on effect. So it's not the lad's fault, but at 6-2 up, and he's not playing Telles, I think a lot of people will be shocked. I'm a little bit shocked, but not completely shocked. I predicted yesterday that Shaw will play. We can't take any chances. Well, we can take 1 or 2 little chances, but we can't take too many chances. So it's Wan-Bissaka, Bailey at centre-back, Maguire at centre-back, and Shaw at left-back. It looks to me pretty much like Van der Beek and Fred will be the holding pair, with Bruno at 10. I'm absolutely amazed at the store that he puts in Bruno. We are winning 6-2. I know people love him because he scores and makes goals, and it will be great if we score a goal or make a goal, but we don't desperately need to do that. And I know Van der Beek needed a game. We needed to be solid, we needed to make sure we're combative, and we need to keep hold of the ball. Why not just give Van der Beek a game in Bruno's place when we're already 6-2 up, and thinking ahead that we've now got 3 games in 5 days as well, starting on Sunday? It really would have made sense to me to give Bruno a breather and play Van der Beek at 10 and still keep McTominay and Fred, or Matic and Fred, or Matic and McTominay. And then up top, I think it'll be Greenwood, Cavani. I would have thought Cavani would have got a breather, and Pogba wide on the left. So just to recap very quickly, it looks to me like it's De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Bailey, Maguire and Shaw. I think it'll be Van der Beek and Fred in the middle with Bruno at 10, and then it's Greenwood, Cavani and Pogba as a front 3. That's how I see it. How are we doing?
Do you think there's a chance that you might see Bruno on the left?
And Pogba where?
Pogba central.
No. Can't see
Pogba
it.
next to Fred. We saw Bruno move out to the left recently, didn't we?
Yeah, possibly. It is a possibility, but I doubt it to start with. 10. Yeah, I doubt it to start with. I really do. Yeah, it could happen. I mean, it's just the difficulty. It's not unusual for him to give Pogba a game in the middle. He often, when he does get a game in the middle, he's sometimes paired with Matic. Wouldn't be a surprise to see him play next to Fred. It's just a case of, I don't think he'd want Van der Beek on the wing, and I don't think he'd really want to move Bruno out there. I know he has done during games. I don't think he's ever started in a wide position.
He just went out there.
Yeah, he might move out there at some stage. Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it would have better balance that way. That's all I just think it's too heavy with offensive players for me.
Yeah, it is too heavy with offensive players. But at 6-2 up, surely it's okay. If this was the first leg, I'd be tearing my hair out with this team. But at 6-2 up, surely it's got to be okay.
Yeah. You put that before. John Joe Kerwin James isn't on the bench.
Yeah, he's not even travelled, Dan James. I saw that yesterday. I don't know if you didn't see the show that I did this afternoon, because yesterday I did a show where I predicted Dan James would start wide on the right with Greenwood at 9. That's what I expected to happen. But then in the afternoon, the news broke that Dan James hadn't even travelled. I mentioned on a show this morning that I can't really grasp it. I see things like this often in football, and I said today I'd love to be a fly on the wall, but Dan James wasn't in the squad on Sunday, and on Sunday they said he was rested, we haven't played since Sunday, and then on Wednesday he's not travelled to Italy, and they've said he's injured. Seems too coincidental to me. Has he got injured in training or something in between Sunday and Wednesday?
Perhaps, yeah.
Possibly.
QS says Bruno decides when he plays.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
JD, disappointed someone like Galbraith, who's been brilliant in the academy, hasn't been called up to the bench to give one of Fred McTominay a rest. We have 4 games in the next week. We need to rest.
I don't think it matters that they're on the bench. They might be needed, those experienced players. I do get what you're saying, but I think if you're not playing and you're sat on the bench, you still are getting a rest. So McTominay's rested. I don't know what he's got in mind for Matic. Look, surely this would have been the ideal game to go Fred and Matic. Matic doesn't play very often. Bruno plays every game. We've got 4 games in 7 days and Bruno's playing again and we're already 6-2 up. I don't get it. Surely it was ideal for Fred and Matic or McTominay and Matic. You know, Matic being the one who doesn't play very often. Yeah. And then Van der Beek could have started at 10, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's done what...
Obviously, we're going into a game tonight where you're very comfortable. There should be no upsets tonight. But really, we're so late in the season now. We shouldn't be talking like this, but we still really haven't found like a bit of a pattern of play, the best starting 11. We're still all kind of hodgepodge, like trial and error type of thing, isn't it? This Tuchel at Chelsea, he's come in and he's gone, right, this is my team, this is how we play now. It's set, and you can see the patterns that he's trying to develop and the style of play that he's trying to bring. And
certainly agree with you in the first half on most games. It looks like we haven't got patterns of play, but for some reason, and I've said this before, I don't know if it's fitness in the United squad, but they do seem to put it together a little bit better in the second half of games. Yeah. The number of times they've come from behind to start with. Yeah. Even last week they came from 2-1 down to win 6-2, didn't they? And played some great football in the second half.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. John Joe Kerwin says, good evening, Ricky.
Evening, John Joe.
Do you think we'll see the best of Van der Beek today because he's surrounded by quality players? Pogba, Cavani, Shaw. P.S. Loved the Richter scale rating show.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. Will we see the best of Van der Beek? I think you'd see the best of Van der Beek in a number 10 role. I really do. But 6-2 up, he's got a chance to, show what he can do. Obviously, it helps that you're 6-2 up. But I don't think it's his best position. And although he's surrounded by some good players, I don't think Fred's quite up to the same level, and I don't think Mason Greenwood, if he's not right on his game. And I would imagine Fred would be slightly to the left and Van der Beek will be slightly to the right. It'll be interesting to see how he links up with Greenwood. That'll be interesting.
JD, a positive of this maybe, Ollie's experimenting with finally bringing Donny into the starting lineup in the pivot and seeing how it works with the main team.
That's a good shout. It is a good shout. At least he is playing. I'm sure Van der Beek. Look, Van der Beek. I'm sure he'd be over the moon if he was playing at right back or left back. So at least he's playing. I'm sure he'd love to be playing a touch further forward. This is. Don't get me wrong. Even if we was to lose tonight, it shouldn't really matter. Surely we're not going to get beat by 4 goals. But we did something like this in Turkey, didn't we? I think Van der Beek started in this role in Turkey when we got beat in Turkey. Yeah. A team that, and I think I'm just looking at the table the other day, 14th or 15th in the Turkish league they are, and we got beat there with Van der Beek in this role and Bruno at 10. They both want to occupy the same areas of the pitch. They both want to occupy that area. So Van der Beek wants to make runs. He wants to go and make himself available in little pockets of space. But when you're playing football, you sometimes find that your teammates are blocking the space that you want to be in. It's not dead obvious while you're watching. It really isn't dead obvious. But when you're playing, it happens to you. You go to make a move, and there's no point in making the move because the space is taken up, or someone's going into that space.
For a split second, you feel a bit lost.
You do. Oh, I better stay here a bit or whatever.
Yeah.
So it'd be look. All I'm saying is, I'm sure this is. Did Fred play as well? Oh no, Matic played in Turkey. I think it was Van der Beek and Matic in Turkey with Bruno at 10. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if it went wrong tonight, but it's not going to go wrong to the extent that we could get beat 4-0 or 5-1. That's what they need to do, don't they? 4-0 or 5-1 to get through.
Yeah, I would suggest that this is the type of team that you should put out if you're aiming to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is that, like you've just said, when we went away to Turkey, obviously this is a constant debate, this, amongst United fans who are saying, oh, we need to have 2 defensive midfield players to protect the back 4.
Load of rubbish.
You need to have 2 defensive midfield players because you just need more players whose natural instinct is to stay behind the ball.
Yeah.
All
the best teams are like that.
Well, when you look at Chelsea last night, if you forget the 4-4-2 and you just think, right, who's more defensive minded and who's offensive minded, and you just split it into 2 groups of players, so your defensive ones and your offensive ones. Real Chelsea last night, they play like 3-4-3. So they've got 7-3. Is the way that the minds are thinking. It's 2 fullbacks in the wide positions, 3 centre halves, and 2 central midfield players.
And then Mount is between the midfield. He's not proper forward. He's between the midfield and the forwards. Mount, isn't he? They've only got 2 forwards really.
Yeah, so it's kind of like there might be a half. There might be a half one there.
Yeah,
so it may be like 7.5, 2.5. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Whereas when we played away at in Turkey, we played 5-5.
Yeah.
We played 5-5.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we played
Van der Beek's attacking, Bruno's attacking, Greenwood's attacking, Martial played there tonight. That's Cavani. Rashford played.
It's 5-5.
Too many attacking players. Yeah.
It's 5-5.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the time when we go to 6-5, people are saying we need to get one of the 6-4. When we go to 6-4. Which is the majority of the time with McTominay and Fred playing there and a back 4. Most of the time, people want to take one out of them to get back into a 5-5.
You couldn't make it up.
Chelsea are playing 7-3 or maybe 7.5, 2.5. Do you know, with Mount playing in that middle ground. Yeah. You've just got to have more players this side of the ball and less players that side of the ball.
Correct.
Now we've set up tonight.
And he's also an attacking. It's also, people don't get it. It's also attacking.
Yeah.
People think because you've got more players, like you just said, if you go back to that game in Turkey, somebody might tell us in the comments if I've got this wrong, but Van der Beek played, Bruno played, Martial played, Juan Mata played on the right actually, and Rashford played I think on the left. But it's 5 attack-minded players and only 5 defensive-minded players. You know what I mean? It's a shambles. Yeah. It's an absolute shambles.
Think about it from where you are, where the ball is. It's ahead of the ball and behind the ball.
Yeah.
You know, the more players that you keep putting ahead of the ball instead of behind the ball, the more difficult it is that you're gonna find it to get it into those players.
Correct.
You're gonna end up lumping it up to them, and it's all disjointed, and there's no rhythm to it.
Yeah.
To be attacking,
the players that are behind the ball keep the ball forward.
That's how you attack.
And keep pressure on them and keep them back.
You attack with players behind the ball, not with players ahead of the ball. With players ahead of the ball, you knock the long ball and it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's the team that we've put out tonight, by the way.
We've got
5-5.
Yeah, we have got 5 attacking players. Yeah, definitely. Pogba, look, Pogba's playing on. If he plays on the left, I do think it'll be like that. He's obviously somebody who's got more defensive nous about him than somebody like, say, Greenwood or Rashford playing in that position. But it is also stressed to him that when he's in that position, he's got like a bit of a free range, a free role, if you like, to make sure he's there supporting the attack and being in the attack. So it is attack-minded. Van der Beek. Do you know if you look? It ain't going to go wrong. So we could easily lose. We ain't going to get beat 4-0 or 5-1. I'm adamant about that. But if this was a one-off game or the first leg of a game, or if we were 1-0 up or 2-0 up, this could be a disaster if we were 1-0 up or 2-0 up.
This is Roma, by the way.
Yeah.
The six here have just got relegated.
No, they haven't got relegated. Somebody put that on Twitter. It's wrong. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
I looked at the table. They're 14th in a 20, unless they've done something wrong financially or something.
Okay.
They're 14th in a 21. In a 21. That's a rumour on Twitter, by the way. I'll just dispel that now. Anybody who's read that on Twitter, if they have got relegated, it's through something that they've done wrong. They're 14th. And there's 21 teams, so they're not in a relegation position. Well, how do they have 21 teams, by the way? One team every week. It doesn't have a game, obviously. But it's 21 teams in the Turkish league. I looked it up when I read it. And the other thing that was on Twitter about Besiktas here, quite a few people saying we only needed a point off them to get through. We didn't need a point off them. We needed 3 points off them. You know, we needed a point off PSG, but that's because PSG would have dropped 2. Or we needed a point off Leipzig because that meant Leipzig would have dropped 2. So a point off PSG or a point off Leipzig would have done it. But a point off Başakşehir would have put us on 10 points, while PSG and Leipzig would have been on 12 points still. So a point off Başakşehir would not have been good enough. We needed to beat Başakşehir. So it's completely wrong, that tweet that's going around. I don't think they've got relegated, and if they have, it's through financial discrepancies or something. It's not through the place in the league. Yeah. And also, 1 point from them would not have got us through. We would have needed to beat them. And what's next?
Lawrence Hughes, what's the better mentality in football? If you don't concede, you can't lose, or if you score more, you win.
Definitely, if you don't concede, you can't lose. Definitely, it's the best mentality. Trust me. If you don't concede, look, at the top level of football, you need to be thinking along the look. Scoring goals is the most difficult thing. Scoring goals is the most difficult thing. I tweeted today that so I can't remember exactly what it was about, but in it I pointed out that in this sport, that's what it was about. It was about people playing progressively and being able to create stuff all the time. This is a sport where 3 is a good score. This isn't basketball where you score 110 or 120 regularly. It's not cricket where you score 350 or something like that. 3 is a good score. If you think about 3, we play 38 games. If you score 3 goals every time you play, that's nearly 120 goals, isn't it? You never score. It doesn't happen. 3 is a fantastic score in this sport. So let's just say 2 is more than adequate. More than adequate. If you scored 2 in every game, that'd be 76. So you'd like to get a little bit more than 2. Of course, it'd be brilliant if you could score 3 a game, but it just doesn't happen. So 2 is a good score or a perfectly decent score in this sport. So what is all this about creative players? How many chances are you expecting to create? How many goals are you expecting to score? And that also means that it's so difficult to score goals and create goals. That's why these people fetch most money, by the way, because when you think about it, goals are pretty rare, aren't they? Yeah. Goals are pretty rare. So, they're a commodity. So if you can not concede any, you've only got to score 1 or 2 to win. You can't be expected to score. You can't be expected to score more than. I know it happens, but you can't be expecting to score more than 3 ever, really. Apart from
definitely not on a consistent basis.
Definitely not on a consistent basis.
Get to 120.
No, it's rare a team scores 100 goals, isn't it? It's not quite 120, is it? 38. It'd be 112 goals. It'd be, but that just doesn't happen, does it? It might have happened once in the Premier League at the most.
Yeah. QS says, thought on 2 defensive midfielders needed to recover the ball because the forwards always lose it. If there was only one, would he get overrun all the time?
It's not about the forwards always losing it, I don't think. I mean, they've got to lose it at some stage. I mean, if you're going to have a shot or you're going to put the ball in the box or you're going to try and creative pass, at some stage you have got to lose it. Even City lose the ball eventually, even after they've had sometimes 20 or 30 passes, they still lose it eventually. So it's not. If that's aimed at the criticism of the forwards, I don't think that's fair. You've got to lose it at some stage, but you just do need 2 players who are in midfield, like we just spoke about. You need enough players behind the ball. It's as simple as that. You do need enough players behind the ball.
Tom Whittingham from Twitter.
Hi, Tom.
How do people still think Rashford is better than Martial? It's astonishing. What do you think?
I saw you tweet that, Tom. I saw that tweet. He's unbelievable. He's not in the same. He's not in the same league. He's nowhere near.
Thomas Omar, Giggs and Beckham's work rate was
fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. In that team, we had Beckham, Keane, Scholes, and Giggs. I put something on last week, didn't I, about Chelsea playing with 2. Chelsea playing with 3 centre backs plus 2 players just in front. You know, people are complaining about us playing with 2 players just in front, and we've got only 2 centre backs.
Yeah.
So they're playing with 3 centre backs, and obviously when they're defending, you know, both of them get forward, Jorginho and Kanté, of course they do. But as soon as they're without the ball, they're in position, and you know, and in the team shape's perfect. So they get 2 central midfield players in front of 3 defenders, and 3 centre backs. We've only got 2 centre backs, and there's people complaining about us having 2 covering them. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. JD says 114. Rick, catch up on your maths.
114. Why? What did I say?
Must be the 3 goals times 3 goals a game times 30.
Oh, 114. Right. There's still a lot of goals in it. A lot of goals. So 3's a fantastic score. You know what I mean? A fantastic score.
Arjun Singh says, Rick, thoughts on Dennis Bergkamp?
What a footballer. What a player. That good that I couldn't believe some of the pundits didn't have the imagination to understand that he clearly meant that goal that he scored against Newcastle once. It was an unbelievable goal, and it was that good some of the pundits thought it was an accident.
Yeah.
You know, it just shows their lack of imagination and lack of understanding. It was superb. What a footballer.
McSaw says, hi Rick, who would you prefer in the finals, seeing as Arsenal have had the edge over United recently?
It depends which way you look at it. Chances of winning, you would probably say Villarreal, wouldn't you? You probably would say Arsenal, but they're both going to be. It's a final. No matter which team you play, they're going to be right up for it, aren't they? I don't know much about Villarreal. Really don't know much about them at the moment. What the team's like at the moment. I will probably just about plump for Villarreal.
Bruce Crowley says, Ricky, what are your thoughts on Van der Beek up front? He has similar qualities to Firmino, and I think he'd be superb. He has the killer instinct and quality around the box, which some players don't.
Yeah, Firmino plays a little bit like a false 9 at times, don't he? And I do think Van der Beek could play like that, but I don't think... I did a show today where I was speaking in depth about how Chelsea play with, and how it links together and how the players... I did something today about the pundits when they were in Madrid saying that they need Tammy Abraham up front because he's more of a finisher and more of a goal scorer. But I pointed out that they don't realise that the way Pulisic and Werner were playing together and the way they can just go past somebody like they're not there and it opens the pitch up and it just flows, the football just flows. If you take one of those players out for Tammy Abraham, it changes everything. The chances won't come as thick and fast. The chances won't be as clear cut as they are. So you can't play with 12. If you're going to put Tammy Abraham in, you've got to take Pulisic or Werner out, and that's why he doesn't pick him. And something I wish I would have said on that show that I did, and I never said it, because I said in that show that Rio Ferdinand, Owen Hargreaves, I can't remember who else was on with him, it might have been Scholesy. Apologies if it was Scholesy. If it wasn't Scholesy, I should say. But I said in the show that I don't care how good those players were at football. All absolutely wonderful, wonderful footballers. But they don't grasp it. They do not know what they're talking about. And before anybody comes in the comments and says, who are you to say that? You know, they're this, they're that, they're the other. Thomas Tuchel agrees with me. You know what I mean? I'm backing Thomas Tuchel. So it's not just me.
Yeah.
Thomas Tuchel agrees with me. He's got those players playing how he wants them to play. If you take one out, it changes dramatically. And I've gone off at a tangent there. What was the question about? Have you still got it there?
I've not actually.
Right, sorry, I went off at a tangent there. I forgot what it was about originally.
Sorry, where are you up to? Tormund says, Rick, thoughts on Inter now? I would have loved to have seen Martial and Lukaku, 2 top strikers. Each other's strengths are their weaknesses. Yeah,
I'd love to have seen them playing together. I liked it when we had Martial playing on the left, but I'd also like Martial playing as a number 10 behind Lukaku. It'd be brilliant. And he's asked me for my thoughts on Inter. I'm over the moon that they've won it. I really am. Ashley Young, one of my favourite players, gets too much disrespect from United fans. He was still a top player. Make no mistake, when he left because he wanted more game time. And yet, and I get thousands of, well, hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, saying he was finished, he was over the top. United didn't want him to leave. You know, it's not. This isn't just me. Ollie didn't want him to leave. The club didn't want him to leave. He left because he wanted game time, and he's in his 30s. He wanted game time. And I mean, that was 18 months ago now, so he's 18 months older, maybe a bit longer, and he's still a top player.
The oddity about that is that he was losing game time to Brandon Williams, who now can't get a kick.
Yes. Yeah.
So they've already fell on the sword, the club, on what they were actually...
Great shout. Yeah, it wasn't just Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka at right back. Yeah, Brandon Williams was getting game time in front of him. Never gets a kick now, Brandon Williams. I could have told him that. I did a fan cam outside Sheffield United where everybody was, look, no disrespect to Brandon, he's a perfectly decent player.
He's a young lad. He's got 4 or 5 years to come.
He's going to have a decent career in the game. It may not be with United. He might not be quite at that level. Actually, and if it isn't with United, by the way, he might not be quite at the level of playing for Inter Milan either. Do you know what I mean? So I was saying this when people were saying, get Luke Shaw out of the team for Brandon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People get too excited about a young lad coming into the team. Again, don't get me wrong, thoroughly decent player, he'll have a decent career in the game, but he's not Luke Shaw and he's not Ashley Young.
He might be absolutely delighted perhaps he should be, if he ends up with a career like a Phil Bardsley or a Jonathan Spector.
Yeah, it's a perfectly good career in the game.
That's the likelihood.
I think
that is the likelihood, just statistically speaking.
Yeah,
it's unlikely he's going to end up at 34 winning the league with Inter Milan.
Yeah, very unlikely. Yeah, very unlikely.
There was one of Adam Farmy here.
Hi, Adam.
And he should put, the way you defend dictates the way you attack and set up. If you sit back, you hit on the brake and need 2 holding midfielders. If you press, everybody needs to press, and it allows you to only have 1 holding. Yeah.
I know where you're coming from with that, Adam. It allows you to have only 1 holding. If you watch the game, and you'll see moments from Chelsea's game last night where Kante was on the edge of their box pressing, winning balls back 10 yards outside their box. In fact, he more or less created one of the goals by winning the ball back sort of halfway into their half. So when you decide to press, that's how it appears. Of course it does. But I always look at a team. There's not many games, very, very rare. And if it is like this, you must be playing against a terrible lineup, a terrible team. There's not many games where you're the dominant force all the way through the game. There's very, very few games, and there's very few games where you're not going to have to sit back and soak up a little bit of pressure or get behind the ball. You know, if they beat your press, let's just say they would have beaten Kante last night when he nicked that ball. You know, he can't stay in their half once they beat the press and they're getting into Chelsea's half. You know, so I always look at a team, how it sets up when they're defending. And when they're defending, when the opposition have got the ball and building a little bit of pressure, you've got to have 2 midfield players just in front of your back 4, without a doubt.
Torman says replacing Lukaku with Rashford was when I lost faith in Ole. MB7 says, Rick, do you think Mount and Foden can become the new Gerrard and Lampard? Different positions for me.
Yeah, they're both slightly different positions, aren't they? But they certainly can be at that level. Without a doubt, they can be at that level. They're both fantastic. Both absolutely fantastic.
So I'm looking forward. I think there's probably the best chance we've had in a long time, I think, with this current crop of players that we've got.
I do. I think we've got some fantastic players. When I say we, England have got some fantastic players.
I've kind of got an eye on Katami, thinking he might have a chance at a World Cup with this type of squad.
Yeah, someone's asked me in YouTube, and I'll check it out. I forgot who it was now, but I will mention him when I do it. But I'm going to do a show. Someone's asked me to name what I think the starting lineup should be for England and what the squad should be. So I'm going to do a show about that at some stage. I've said I'm going to leave it a week or 2 though. I don't know if Grealish is anywhere near fit. I don't know if Declan Rice is anywhere near fit, because there'll be a shoe-in certainly for the squad, and Rice probably for the team. And before he got injured, by the way, we've actually had a full international break with Grealish injured.
Yes.
But the previous international break before that, it looked like he was going to be a shoe-in for the starting lineup. He was that good.
Yeah.
So we need to see if Grealish, and it'd be better. That show will be better a little bit later on when we've got a better idea about who's fit.
What I hope that he does, by the way, I hope he plays 7-3 and not.
Yeah. Oh, he will. When he does it, if they're both fit, Henderson and Rice will be in midfield without a doubt.
Yeah, but that's
still 6.
I'm saying 7. I'm hoping that he plays like Rice, Henderson, and Bellingham. and then 3 attackers, rather than dropping one of those 3 in favour of a Mount or a Grealish or a. Do you know what I mean? I'm hoping he plays 7-3.
Yeah, very interesting.
Because otherwise, you're leaving yourself too exposed to attacking. McSaw says, Rick, thoughts on Jemba and Cleverson? I think they were underrated.
Oh, that's a great shout, isn't it? Is he winding me up? Because everybody slates him.
Cleverson in particular.
Yeah. I thought he got a raw deal, Cleverson. Never, very, very rarely got a game in his best position. Very, very rarely. Played. I think I'm right in saying, I've read it numerous times before, he played in every single solitary minute of the World Cup win when Brazil won the World Cup. I think that was in Japan. And I thought he was a decent player, Cleberson, but the team we had at the time, we just couldn't get in his favourite position.
Adam Farmier in the super chat has put, Jose made us miss so much about what makes United that we went the other extreme. Players need to play because they're good, not because they're young. And I mean, one holding with the ball, you're right. Obviously, it's the whole parking the bus mentality that people got behind that, isn't it? I think there's definitely a eagerness amongst our fan base and amongst our and amongst the club, amongst the staff at the club, to play players who are just homegrown talent, young talent. For me, it's not the way that you build a great team. You just need the best player for each position.
Best player. I don't care how young he is or how old he is, and I will never apologise. Well, I do apologise occasionally, but I feel as though I shouldn't have to apologise for saying if a 19-year-old kid isn't good enough to be in the first team yet, then he isn't good enough to be in the first team yet. You know what I mean? I just want to come back to Adam on that, by the way. He's just said, when we've got the ball, you perhaps only need one holding. We do play like that. As much as everybody says we play with 2 covering the 2 centre-backs, it gets said all the time. Look how much he scored twice in the first 4 minutes against Leeds, you know what I mean? McTominay makes plenty of runs into the box, when we're attacking, and Fred's been getting on the edge of the box. He scored the other week against Spurs from about 10 yards out, didn't he, if that? Yeah. So they do make runs into the box, but they still, their main job is to be in position when we're defending. That's the most important job of those 2 players. But they can get forward at times.
DJ Solman.
Here we go, Paul. How are you, mate?
4 games in 8 days.
What's the weather like in Jersey, Paul? It's freezing here.
4 games in 8 days. Any players you would like to get more game time and therefore push for a regular spot?
The chances of pushing for a regular spot are pretty negligible. No matter what happens in the next week. Look, when you say a regular spot, it looks pretty much like we're going to be in a Europa League final, and I'll probably be doing this about 10 times between now and then. But a stab at the team, and I don't think you'd get more than 1 position wrong. I really don't. 2 at the most. But the team for the Europa League final, if we fit, I'm covering what you've asked here, Paul. Pushing for a place. So it's obviously going to be whichever keeper he goes with, probably De Gea for the Europa League, but I'm not worried about the keepers. I'm on about the 10 outfield players. It'll be Wan-Bissaka, it'll be Lindelof, it'll be Maguire, it'll be Shaw, it'll be McTominay, it'll be Fred, it'll be Bruno at 10, it'll be Pogba on the left. Those positions, to me, are set in stone. Number 9 almost certainly will be Cavani. Martial might just put a bit of pressure on him if he's back, but I think that'll be Cavani at number 9. It only leaves 1 position to go for, and that 1 position to go for me, by the way, will probably be Marcus Rashford. It should never be Marcus Rashford. I'm not convinced by him on the left wing, as people know, and on the right wing, I said in a show today, even when we won 6-2 last week, he didn't play particularly well in that game. When we dominated, certainly dominated an half and 1-6, he didn't even play well in that game, playing on the right. So I think, on the right, you've got Rashford, you've got Greenwood, you've got Dan James. He never uses Van der Beek wide on the right. So all these players who might get games in the next week, they are not going to be knocking on the door for a starting berth, I don't think. But yes, definitely players have got to get games. There's got to be rotation with so many games in a few days.
DJ Solman replies with pissing down a French fisherman all over the place. McSauce. Wait, who lives in Jersey? I also live in Jersey.
There you go.
McSauce and Port can go for a pint there. And DJ Chunky Biscuit says, please stop banging your chair, it's driving me mad.
Sorry, mate. I just keep moving back and forward, I apologise.
Momo Arif, Director of Football Philosophy. That would be I don't know if he's putting you forward as a football. Is it director of football role there?
Yeah. What time is it? How are we doing?
We're on 7:30. 7:30,
right. Another couple of minutes or another couple of questions.
There's a question here regarding Rashford. Where is it? JD, is it just me or has Rashford lost that work rate that first made him indispensable to the managers when he first broke through? Is it injury or is it believing his own hype? Either way, it needs fixing.
Very tricky question, mate. Very tricky question. Work rate. I'm not sure that his work rate has changed much. It doesn't seem to, for me, I don't think it's something that I ever would have wrote home about his work rate. I'm not slating him for his work rate, but I don't think it's ever been uppermost in my mind about Marcus Rashford. He's got a particularly good work rate. All players have got to work hard. Don't forget, it's a prerequisite, isn't it, to work hard on a football pitch. So if anything's gone wrong with him, I don't really know what it is. Don't know what it is.
Rick, would Bielsa win the league with this team? Someone else had asked earlier as well. Would you take Bielsa at United?
Would I take Bielsa? I certainly like his principles. But whether he could get this team. Look, everyone's talking about Tuchel. What he's done, he's just taken the same players, that Lampard effectively was struggling with. They climbed the league. They're in the cup final. They're in the Champions League final. So people. Look. When Ollie took over, I believe he got rid of some players that he shouldn't have got rid of. Do you know what I mean? And Tuchel's not had a chance yet, and whether he will or not, I don't know. He might be happy with the squad that he's got, and I honestly believe. I think we might finish with this one because everybody will laugh. I honestly believe that if I'd taken over the team that Ollie had when he took over, they could have been shaped into a team that are at least as good as the team we've got now. I don't think we've gone better because of where we were, but we were where we were because Mourinho, I think he'd lost the dressing room. He always seems to fall out with people after a while. It just collapses for him. Now don't forget, with the team that Ollie took over, although they were struggling at that moment, the season before, I know they were well behind City, but they got 80 odd points, didn't they, and came second. We haven't got 80 odd points since then, and it might be a while before we do. Do you know what I mean? So, I think with that team and with the right encouragement and with realising who plays well together, I think that team could have been, with those players that we had then, we could be at least in this position now, if not better off. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, Solskjaer
and Tuchel could have done that, and maybe Bielsa could do that with this squad.
Yeah.
And maybe Tuchel could do that with this squad.
Yeah.
And could have done it with the squad that we had anyway. All the money that we've spent might have been unnecessary, really, if we'd have kept the players we had. And loads of people will say, "Oh, it was no good. The players were no good." Look, they got 80 odd points 6 months earlier. It was down to the manager, Mourinho, that they weren't doing so well that season.
Yeah, obviously Solskjaer's kicked on this season, but he's kicked on from a poorly managed Jose side.
Yeah.
He's improved on what was already poor, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It could have just been so much better then anyway.
Yeah, it could have been better just with that. But those players, Jose wasn't doing it right in that last season that he was there.
Yeah.
Last question.
What's your thoughts on no one Mata, Van der Beek and Pogba behind Cavani would be tasty?
Oh, I'd love to see that. Yeah, I'd love to see that, John Joe. I really would. What's my thoughts on it? I love Mata. I think he's got another. He's signed a contract to us for next season as well, hasn't he? Juan Mata. I think he has. But if his game time's going to get even shorter and shorter, he must love playing. Being the footballer he is, Juan Mata, he must love playing football. He must love it. So how on earth he could hang around? If I was him, I'd be looking to move and try and get some football before I retire. You're a long time retired. A long time retired. I did say last one, but if you've got one there.
Yeah, I'm just going to add something. Yeah, well, no problem. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, you know the score now. Please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.